And I think a lot of people saw this as a surprise because of the fact that these two companies have been battling in court for several years now. I mean, you talk about those quarterbacks getting concussions, and I think that when you mentioned Steve Jobs discussing thermonuclear attacks on the Android players, HTC was the one phone manufacturer that had the early success. We all talk about Samsung now, but a few years back, HTC was really winning a lot of market share courtesy of the Android operating system. What we know in the second quarter this year is that the number of phones that were shipped using the Android operating system far exceeded those using Apple's iOS. So even though we talk about how big the iPhone has been, 69% of the phones shipped in the second quarter, according to IDC, were using Android. Apple knows this. They know they have some leverage coming out of that key courtroom win in San Jose against Samsung, and perhaps they saw an opportunity to reach a settlement with HTC.
But John, the context here is that it's been an unusually rough stretch for Apple shareholders. Apple entering a bear market, losing more than 20% over the past 2 months. Does this settlement agreement alleviate some of that pressure?
I mean, it still gets you back to the reality of the product cycle, where we are. One of the reasons that Apple's stock price rocketed up to $700 over the last 5 years was because of the success of every iPhone model. Every time it came out, many could make the argument that there wasn't a comparable product on the market. Well, look at some of the other products that are on the market today, whether it's Samsung's Galaxy S3 or in the case of HTC, the One X. There's a lot more similarities between the products. Add to that the fact that sometimes it can take a few weeks, maybe a couple months to get your hands on a new iPhone. Does that change the competitive landscape for Apple going forward?
John, when Scarlett introduced this story, she talked about Steve Jobs' commitment to a thermonuclear war over patents. One has to wonder whether Tim Cook shares that same commitment given the willingness to settle with HTC.
And we have been asking that question to a lot of patent experts. Do they feel like Tim Cook is taking a different approach? And we seem to be getting the sense that don't look at a settlement necessarily as moving away from the previous strategy. And what I mean by that is take a look at some of the analyst estimates on what ultimately HTC might be paying. We don't know any of the terms of this deal. But if, according to Stern AG, HTC is paying $6 to $8 for every phone that is sold that would have been infringing on the Apple patents, that, coupled with the Microsoft payments that HTC has to make, starts to create a competitive landscape which is not as convincing to any phone manufacturer that they're going to make a lot of money for every handset they sell. Apple and Microsoft want that. Google does not want that. So perhaps that is part of the ultimate game plan here, settlement being part of the overall strategy.